At the same time, we got Solana rolling out their own ETF with VSOL. Mt. Gox just made a massive Bitcoin move, and then the SEC quietly removed crypto from its 2026 priorities. So diving right into it today, Bitcoin briefly dipped below $90,000, its lowest level in 7 months. People are freaking out. People are wondering, are we in a bear market? We'll dive in and show you what we are expecting here. Taking a look here at this article, we had Tom Lee making headlines again, and also Matt Hogan in the news again as well, pretty much sharing their opinions on the market, right? So heavy ETF outflows, you have whale selling, and then a lingering concern about Fed rate cuts. Are you going to keep cutting rates? Tom Lee coming out again, making headlines, saying that the market is still reacting to major liquidation events that happened October 10th, where they saw billions in leveraged long positions wiped out. And so here we see in this article here, they're on CNBC. And the question is crypto bear market or a buying opportunity, right? You can look at the blockchain and it will show you that whales are buying, institutions are buying, despite everything that we're seeing when it comes to just the outflows, when it comes to retail selling. Hogan's calling this moment a generational opportunity for long-term investors. He's saying Bitcoin tends to bottom before the rest of the market rebounds. Bitcoin down roughly 20% from its all-time high. Both analysts believe this correction is setting up for a major recovery. So despite them saying that, retail will freak out. A lot of people will freak out and they'll see this and they'll just have fear. And that's what we talk about, that shift that's needed when you look at the markets. You need that shift in mindset to capitalize on opportunities like this. There's no way you survive pullbacks like this. And honestly, if you can't survive pullbacks like this, you don't deserve the profits. And we've seen pullbacks like this time and time again. And typically the people that accumulate through times like this, if you look at history, long term, the outcome is very, very favorable. So next up, we have Solana. Solana is killing it when we look at the ETF stories, right? We see a ton of ETF stories, but the biggest news, I think, today was that VanEck Solana ETF launched, bringing spot exposure to Sol on Wall Street. So big news, huge news. So looking at VanEck's ETF, Solana ETF called VSOL, is really giving traditional investors direct exposure to Solana price, plus staking rewards built directly into the product. So there's zero sponsor fees until the fund hits 1 billion assets under management, or until February 17th, 2026, making it the most attractive ETF launches in the digital space, right? Because you don't have to pay fees until February 17th, or we reach 1 billion AUM. That's big. Right, that's going to attract so many people. And, I'm surprised with Solana. I'm surprised Solana made it to an ETF, right? I'm surprised, but Solana continues to lead high-performance ecosystems with millions of daily transactions and DeFi, gaming, NFTs, you guys know. Despite their challenges sometimes when it gets overloaded, sometimes, the system can't handle it, but they're rolling out the kinks and continue to be a major player in the crypto space, currently sitting in the top 5, I believe, top 6 or top 5 when it comes to altcoins. You have Tether there, so I'll call it 6. I'll call it 5. All right. So we see Solana making news, making headlines, and this ETF is fire. This ETF is a good one because you're able to earn yield as well, right? It's almost a no-brainer, right? Solana's not going anywhere by this point. Love it or hate Solana. I know there's a lot of people who hate Solana. I'm an investor in Solana. Full disclosure, even though I'm not the biggest fan, I think from a price standpoint, Solana's going to do just fine, right? And that's what we're investing in crypto for. We're investing in crypto to make money. So Solana, huge shout out Solana for VSOL ETF. Big news. Next up, we have Mt. Gox moves almost $1 billion in Bitcoin after months of silence. So here we have this article here pretty much highlighting that Mt. Gox moved 10,608 Bitcoin worth just under $1 billion, marking his first transfer in 8 months. The move surprised the market. The bigger story pretty much is the fact that the credit repayments have officially been pushed back to October 2026. That means $4 billion in Bitcoin will remain locked and won't hit the market for another year, taking pretty much away those narratives and all those stories that you heard historically that each time Mt. Gox released funds, Bitcoin held strong because those institutional buyers start gobbling it up. But Bitcoin is still over 60% higher today than it was in its first repayment of 2024. So a lot of speculation. People are trying to time this market and guess this market, right? We look at the charts here, right? We made a new low, but you see that exhaustion. And that's one thing I'd like to highlight with the article with Hogan when he was on CNBC. He did highlight and say that the market is looking like the sellers are exhausted. The reason why you can tell that is if you look at this candle, you're no longer getting these big, huge candles to the downside. You can see they're getting smaller and smaller. That is marking, okay, we're getting a little exhausted to the downside. Might be time to either make a lower high, pull back. Either way, if it's not going to be a correction, right, or we're not going to be a change in this pullback, at least you're going to pull back a little bit. You can tell by the candles getting smaller. So that's definitely something to highlight when we're looking at the market. We can kind of see what's going on so we can react and respond appropriately to the market. So definitely going to be paying attention to that and give you guys a market update, especially from the TA side. I know you guys love the TA, so going to dive into that. So next up, we have the SEC makes no specific mention of crypto in 2026 exam priorities. This is big. The reason why this is big because last year under Gary Gensler, crypto was named as the top priority risk category. Now, under a new administration, President Donald Trump, we see that this entire section is gone. So the SEC says it's focusing now on fiduciary duty, custody, cybersecurity, and no reference of digital assets. So this aligns with President Donald Trump's shift in pretty much focusing on an open stance towards the crypto industry. This is what we needed. So the SEC can still examine crypto. We know that. They can still examine crypto. But the removal signals a less aggressive oversight and increased confidence for firms entering the space. A lot of people won't touch. They weren't trying to touch crypto. They were not trying to spend that money battling the SEC, and that's what makes XRP a Trojan horse, in my opinion, when it comes to just being a beast and making a statement in this industry, because they were the only ones to go toe to toe with the SEC and not settle out toe to toe and win. So shout out to SEC. I'm about to say shout out to the SEC, but shout out to XRP for leading the way when it comes to pretty much being a part of making this possible. Can you imagine if XRP lost that lawsuit? If XRP lost, who knows where we would be? Who knows? There would be no telling where we'd be right now if XRP failed or if XRP decided to settle. Who knows what the industry would be like? So definitely wanted to dive into that, guys. So there's a ton of things going on. We have a ton of things going on in the market. And, with everything going in the market, I think that it's very important to think a little bit differently than you want to. As painful as it is, we have Bitcoin that just broke under $90,000. We got the top analysts calling this week a potential market bottom. At the same time, we got Solana rolling out their own ETF with VSOL. Mt. Gox just made a massive Bitcoin move, and then the SEC quietly removed crypto from its 2026 priorities. So with all that news, I think there's a lot of excitement. And with all that news, I think it's time to position yourself like we are to be ready for a market turn. We do not think we are in a bear market, but I do think a lot of people believe that, and you're going to miss out on a major opportunity. Historically, we've seen that. Historically, we've seen people just miss out because they're waiting for Bitcoin to pull back, essentially the crypto market to pull back to a certain point. It doesn't happen, and they miss a position, end up buying at the top and becoming somebody's exit liquidity. So definitely want to highlight that. Hope you guys got some value out of this video. Keep moving forward in everything that you do. See you soon.